So another, I mean, I think he's somewhat popular. He has a bunch of Instagram followers, but he hadn't been on the show. Yeah, Arild Heitmann has one of my favorite books. Eric just showed. It's called
Jaime.
Heim or
Heim.
Jaime. Yeah,
Um,
I don't know if the E is pronounced or not. But he's from Norway, I believe, and he appears to be one badass motherfucker. You go through if you go through his book, he talks about like there's photos of him like standing in like ice cold water and like he talks about like he's lost feeling and like his toes and stuff like permanently in some of them from just like being out in the cold in Scandinavia a lot.
yeah.
Um, it was really hard to pick a photo from him. Uh, he has a pretty wide range of styles, and one of the more predominant ones lately is more like dark, moody mountains. Um, and he's a lot of
And
sweet.
like every image he makes is impeccable.
Yeah,
hmm
he's a lot of ice stuff, but this one in particular always
Yeah.
stood out to me because like when I'm out in the upper Midwest in the snow, like this is the exact thing that I'm looking for. It's like I always have this kind of scene in my mind, but I can never quite make it. But it's got like the perfect fluffy snow on the ground. It has the gorgeous like snow texture sticking to the side of the birch trees. It has the snow still sitting on the branches that hasn't fallen yet. And then like it has the gorgeous clean river that doesn't have like gross ice. Sometimes there's like not very good looking ice that forms. And it's just it just it makes me think of the best parts of winter when I look at this image in particular. And of course, it's much better in print. I'd buy the book for sure. So
Super
Yeah,
sweet.
it conveys like the essence and feeling of winter so well.
Right.
That's hard to
It's
do.
really well balanced too. You know, the way that there's two trees on the right, two trees on the left, the river in between them, it's compositionally so perfect.
Really, really
But
good.
Which is done
sometimes that
so
can
tough
be
to do
like,
with a messy scene.
well, but also that can be like obnoxious, when there's like two trees on either side, like framing a scene.
Yeah.
But here it's like
Yeah.
subtle enough where it's like effective, but not overly obvious.
Right.
I like the
Yeah.
work I like the work you put in and digging deep and like getting a really nice variety of different images. I mean,
Yeah. I agree.
you
In
can
24 hours.
yeah, dude. I mean, you can. I'm serious. I mean, you can really tell that you like kind of went in there and you were very conscious of who we've had on the past, and you've really showcased some really good stuff here. I fucking love it. That's great.
thanks.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Trying to
it's super cool.
Yeah, Brant and I are always like sharing books and photographs with each other that we like because we really enjoy like going on people's websites and taking a deep dive and finding new stuff. So I knew he would be somebody like he's been on my mind to have as a guest at some point, but when we had a last minute cancellation and we needed to find a new guest, I knew he would be able to throw it together in time. So
Wasn't he like the 30th person you called though?
No, dude, you
The 29th, Jimmy.
nailed it, dude. You did a really good job.
He's like this loser doesn't have plans on Friday night.
Yeah, what
Well,
else is there?
that
Madison, Wisconsin? What could possibly be going on?
that is true. That was part of my consideration.
Yeah, let's look at the nation. That's so good.
Arild, I'm looking through his portfolio kind of like for the first time. I'm like, oh my goodness.
You've never heard of him before?
I mean, I have I follow him, but I haven't really looked that much. But
I should have vetted all you guys before creating the host of this, the host lineup of this show, because
yeah,
that's pretty disappointing.
You gotta wet your palate.
He,
Come on.
his website has like hundreds and hundreds of images. There's like a bunch of collections, and they're all really cool. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
get a beer and do a deep dive.
That's the way to
All
do
of
it.
his all of his
Yeah.
work has like a very similar, like unmistakable aesthetic like this. It's just very pure, very clean,
Yeah.
but not in like a contrived way.
Simple.
Like he's trying to like only do a certain thing and like staying within like a box. It's like he somehow manages to like find that like in all different kinds of landscapes, and it's just the way that he naturally sees the world. It's not something that he's forcing or like trying to do. It's really remarkable, and he does a lot of square
He does.
ratio stuff, which is
It's
super
hard.
hard.
Oh,
Yep.
God, yeah.
I was looking for a new ball head for my tripod. I like my old one, but when it's below like 20 degrees Fahrenheit or so, it starts to get a little loose. I think something like the grease gets too viscous or something. So I'm like, I should buy a new one. Looking for recommendations. Who should I reach out to? Oh, the guy that lost feeling in his limbs permanently from standing in the cold. I'll reach out to him. so yeah, he got back to me with a recommendation, bought it, and worked perfectly. But not
That's
sponsored, but the really right stuff. Like what is it, BH40 or something?
That's the one I got right
wrong with
now.
their stuff.
What else are you going to go with? I mean, literally, like, I made that mistake years
There's
ago.
nothing.
You buy something different that maybe less expensive, but not the best quality, and then eventually you land on some stuff that's like, you just can't go wrong with their stuff.
Yeah, and
Nah,
you
you
should
really
never like this is the first one I've had that has the clamp, and I'll never go back to the knob.
Gotta
It's
do
so
clamp.
Oh
quick.
yeah, for sure.
Just
For sure.
boom, it's
It's
on.
so much better.
Solid too. Like there, you can't mistake when you look at a knob. You don't know how tight it is. When you look at the clamp,
Oh yeah,
you
and
know
then you
whether
like
it's on
tilt
or
your
off.
camera and your whole setup just falls off the tripod.
Dude, that happened to me at Rainier a few weeks ago. I had a 150 to 600 on, and my whole shit fell right off the fucking.
Oh, that sucks.
It didn't mess anything up, but it was just like my hands were cold. It was cold. It was 20 degrees, and it's just one of those deals where you're just like, you think you're locked in, but you're not, and your whole kit crashes to the ground, and you're just like, fuck me.
Cameras and
That's
lenses are surprisingly durable. I drop my gear all the time, like
Dude,
accidentally.
I was so shocked. Like I dropped that whole thing, and I put it back on, and I'm back at this.
My number one move is leaving the back of my pack open and forgetting, and then I like go to pick it up and throw it on my back, and all my shit goes everywhere.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's a bunch
Oh,
of
dude, it's classic.
empty beer cans and lenses flying out.
Exactly.
Mine's mostly empty beer cans, but
Yeah.
Good of you to pack it out.
exactly. A couple of Kodak starter kits.
Kind of a funny story about that. My first book, Conversations with Nature, like, you know, the cover photo, this leaf on the oil. That was like a 5-day backpacking trip I did with my wife a few years ago. And I came out with like an entire gallery of images. It was like 50 or so images of like leaf scenes and things like that from that trip. But the very first night, like before I even took a single photo, like the first spot I was set up at, I set up my tripod as high as it goes, center column fully erect, camera on there, 70 to 300 mounted on. I turn around to like get a new SD card or something, and I just hear whack, and the whole thing just tipped over from optimal height all the way down onto like it was like there was like slanted ground next to it too, so it fell even further. It wasn't flat, just right onto solid sandstone. And the lens just cracked off. The LCD screen just completely exploded, and the viewfinder got messed up too. So all those images that I shot on that trip were with a broken ass camera that didn't have an LCD screen. The viewfinder had like a big black spot on it, and my lens was like the lens hood was shattered and everything. Like broken ass setup.
That is so messed up.
That's funny.
It's an awful sound. I had a 70 to 200 f2.8 that like landed on pavement, and that sound is just like,
Yeah, just that unmistakable like whack.
oh yeah, and
that's the worst.
It was done. It's just not even.
That's just the sound of money exploding.
Exactly.
Like when you
Almost
when
as
I
bad as
rotated,
dropping a beer on the ground.
rotated the lens, you could hear the glass moving on the inside of the.
So
I
bad.
don't think this is repairable.